Welcome to Zoe Stories. My friends turned me into a girl. My name is Ethan, and I'm 19 years old. I've always been the type of guy who doesn't take life too seriously, athletic, into cars, and surrounded by a group of friends who loved pushing each other to do ridiculous things. I was never the most fashionable or the most careful about my image. I was the guy who wore what was comfortable, who never really gave much thought to how others might perceive me. But when the challenge came, I wasn't prepared for how much it would make me question myself. It started as a simple dare, something that didn't seem like a big deal. My friends, Jack, Matt, and Ryan, had been messing around, joking about how I'd never have the guts to step out of my comfort zone. And that's when they suggested it. Why don't you dress up as a girl for a weekend? At first, I laughed it off. It was ridiculous, right? I mean, who would take that seriously? But as the words sank in, something inside me stirred. Was I really too afraid to do something so simple? Was I really so locked into this guy persona that I couldn't break free, even just for a weekend? What was at stake wasn't just about wearing a dress or putting on makeup. It was about stepping into a version of myself that I didn't even know existed. Could I do it? Could I change how I saw myself and how others saw me? This wasn't just a game. It felt like it might be something much bigger. Something that would challenge who I was and what I thought I knew about myself. At first, I thought I could just laugh it off, like it was one of those stupid challenges we always joked about, something to kill time and get a few laughs. But the more I thought about it, the more the idea lingered in my mind, like a seed planted deep inside, sprouting doubts and curiosity. Why did it feel so different this time? I stood there, processing what they were saying. They were all smiling, joking around, but I could see it in their eyes. They expected me to say yes. They wanted me to prove I wasn't a coward, that I wasn't afraid to break free from the typical guy mold. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized how much it terrified me. The idea of dressing up as a girl, putting on makeup, wearing a dress, it was a far cry from the world I was used to. I had no clue what that would feel like, or how people would react to me. Would I look ridiculous? Would my friends laugh at me behind my back? Would I even be able to pull it off? But there was another part of me, something deeper, that felt an unexpected pull. A whisper of curiosity. What if this could be a way to finally step outside the box I'd been stuck in for years? What if it was more than just dressing up? Could I find out something about myself that I'd never known? Was I strong enough to face whatever was lurking in those fears? I could feel my heart racing as I stood there, trying to make sense of it. It wasn't just about the clothes or makeup, it was about my identity, how I defined myself. What would it mean to step outside everything I'd known? The pressure was intense, like I was on the edge of a cliff, ready to jump, but unsure of what waited at the bottom. The more I thought about it, the harder it became to ignore the possibility that this could actually change everything. I wasn't sure what was scarier, doing it or backing out. But for the first time, I felt like I was actually considering it, the fear and excitement swirling together in a strange mix I didn't know how to untangle. I couldn't shake the thought. It had started out as a joke, but now it felt like something much bigger. I spent the next few days trying to push it aside, hoping the idea would fade like so many other ridiculous dares. But it didn't. It kept creeping back into my mind, nagging at me, making me second-guess everything. One night, I sat in my room, staring at the mess of clothes scattered across the floor, my head swirling with questions. Was I really going to go through with this? What would people think? My friends? My family? My parents would have a heart attack if they saw me dressed like that. My brother, Jake, would probably think I'd lost my mind. He already made fun of me for being too soft at times. I could already hear his voice in my head, mocking me. Dude, you can't actually do it. That's not you. But the more I thought about it, the more something inside me rebelled against those voices. Was I really going to let other people decide who I was? Was I going to let their expectations define me? The fear of judgment was paralyzing, but there was a strange excitement creeping in too. I picked up my phone, my hands trembling as I scrolled through the group chat. It was one of those moments when I had to decide whether to speak up or just let it pass. Matt had sent a message that read, "So, Ethan, you still in? Or are you gonna back out like a wimp?" My stomach twisted into knots. The pressure was on. I had to decide whether I was going to be the guy who played it safe or the one who broke free from his comfort zone. Jack replied almost immediately, sending a laughing emoji, and Ryan chimed in with, "Don't back out, dude. We'll have your back. Just trust us." That last line hit me like a punch to the gut. "We'll have your back." I wanted to believe them. But something told me that if I went through with this, it wouldn't just be about the weekend. It would change something deeper within me. I had no idea what, but I could feel the weight of it. The doubt started creeping in again. What if this was all just a game to them? What if they were laughing behind my back the whole time? What if I looked ridiculous, felt exposed, humiliated? I leaned back in my chair, closing my eyes, trying to block out the noise in my head. I wasn't sure if I was ready for the fallout. Was I willing to risk my identity for a dare, for a weekend that might not even be fun? Or was I truly ready to step into something unknown and see what came of it? The ping of a new message broke my concentration. Jack had sent a picture of a girl in full makeup and a sleek red dress, captioned, "This could be you, bro. No turning back." I stared at the image for a long moment, feeling my heart beat faster. This wasn't just about looking pretty in a dress. It was about something deeper, something I couldn't quite articulate yet. The pressure mounted as I hovered over the keyboard, unsure of what to type. Would I say yes, or was this where I drew the line? I stared at my phone screen, the cursor blinking at the end of the message. I had been sitting here for minutes, hours, maybe, unsure of what to do. Every part of me was screaming to back out, to take the easy way out, to preserve the life I knew. But that voice, the one that had been whispering in the back of my head since Matt first dared me, was louder now. What if this was your chance to do something different? The thought lingered, heavy with possibility. But so was the fear of what my friends would think if I chickened out, if I let them down. Would they lose respect for me? Would they see me as weak? Or worse, would they never look at me the same way again? The consequences were clear, yet blurry all at once. On one hand, there was the thrill, the adrenaline that would come from doing something completely out of character, something no one would expect from me. On the other, I could see myself regretting it, wishing I had just stayed in my lane. I thought about my parents, how they would react if they found out. They'd never understand. The judgment would sting. The disapproval would be impossible to ignore. But then there was that nagging question again. Was I really going to let their opinions dictate who I was? I closed my eyes, breathing deeply, and typed, "All right. I'm in." My finger hovered over the send button. The weight of the decision hit me all at once. There was no turning back now. My heart pounded in my chest as I pressed send, sealing my fate. The weekend was about to change everything, whether I was ready or not. The first time I stepped into the room with the bags of clothes, dresses, heels, makeup, I froze. The weight of the situation hit me like a freight train. This wasn't just about trying on clothes or some dumb dare. This was about completely changing my identity, even if just for a weekend. The idea that I could look in the mirror and not recognize myself was both thrilling and terrifying. As Matt and the others passed me items to try on, my heart raced, but there was a strange part of me that was eager to see how this would all unfold. I began with the basics. The feeling of silk against my skin was a shock. I'd always seen these fabrics on girls, but never imagined what they'd feel like on me. It was like the dress was soft, teasing my skin with each movement. The tightness around my chest and waist was another sensation I wasn't used to, restricting but oddly comforting. The makeup was the hardest part. My friends went to work on my face, applying foundation and eyeshadow. The cool brushes against my skin made me twitch. They laughed as they applied mascara, and I caught sight of myself in the mirror. At first, I barely recognized the face looking back at me. My jawline softened with the makeup, and my eyes were accentuated by the thick lashes. I looked like someone else entirely. A girl, sure, but not just any girl. A girl who looked confident, in control, even though I felt the complete opposite. As I stepped into the heels, I almost stumbled. The height was disorienting, making me feel unsteady, like my body didn't quite fit the shoes. But with each step, I started to get the hang of it. Slowly, I found myself walking with more purpose, more grace, and I realized that the way I carried myself in these clothes was completely different from how I usually moved. The change wasn't just physical. Something inside me had shifted, too. But the biggest change came when I looked in the mirror. I wasn't just seeing a transformation in the way I looked, I was seeing the transformation in how I felt. There was a certain power in this new persona, something I hadn't expected. I wasn't just pretending to be someone else anymore. I was becoming someone else. And it was terrifying. What if I started to like this new version of myself? The deeper I went into this transformation, the more I questioned everything about who I was. I looked at the others, their faces lit up with admiration and excitement, and realized they were seeing me in a way I'd never been seen before. It felt strange, foreign, but a part of me was starting to embrace it. I wasn't just playing a part anymore. This new me, this girl, felt right, like it had always been there, just waiting for the right moment to emerge. But how far could I let myself go without losing who I was? I caught my reflection one last time before heading out. The girl in the mirror looked back with a smile that wasn't forced. She was me, yet she wasn't. And that was the scariest part. The more I looked, the more I wanted to explore what this new me meant. The night was drawing closer, and the air was thick with anticipation. I could feel the tension tightening around my chest as we made our way to the party. Each step in those heels seemed heavier, and my stomach churned with a mix of excitement and dread. The others were laughing, carefree, but inside, I was fighting a war between my old self and this new identity I was trying on like a costume. We entered the venue, and the buzz of music, chatter, and laughter hit me all at once. The moment we stepped inside, I felt the eyes on me. It was different from anything I'd ever experienced. People weren't just looking. They were seeing me. The girl in the dress. The girl who was someone else entirely. I tried to keep it together, to act like everything was fine, but the anxiety was suffocating. Every glance, every whisper, felt like it was suffocating me. And yet, the longer I stood there, the more I realized how strange it felt to be so visible, so wanted. But then, I saw her, Emma. She was across the room, talking to a group of people, and when our eyes met, I couldn't look away. Her gaze was intense, as if she was studying me, noticing every little detail. She smiled and I froze. My heart pounded against my ribcage, and suddenly, I couldn't breathe. "Hey, you," she said as she approached, her voice soft but confident. "You look amazing tonight." Her words hit me like a jolt of electricity. But it wasn't just the compliment. It was her tone, the way she saw me. I wasn't mad in a dress, I was just me. Her gaze was warm, genuine. For the first time all night, I felt like I wasn't pretending. But as she reached out and touched my arm, I felt something shift. There was no going back now. The flirtation, the attention, it was more than I'd ever felt before. Was this the moment where I had to decide who I wanted to be? Did I want to stay in the shadows of who I was, or embrace this new version of myself fully? Emma leaned in, her breath warm against my ear. "You're something else tonight. I don't know if I want the night to end." Everything inside me wanted to pull away, to stop this before it went too far. But another part of me, the part that had been awakened, transformed, wanted to lean in, to explore where this could lead. I felt trapped, unsure if this was the beginning of something I wanted, or a mistake I would regret. The tension was unbearable, and yet, I couldn't look away. This was it. I was at the precipice of something massive, and I had to decide if I was going to take the plunge. The following days were a blur of confusion and clarity, all tangled together. I spent hours in front of the mirror, confronting the person who stared back at me. The reflection wasn't just a new face, a new look, it was a new me. And yet, in those moments of quiet reflection, I realized something important. I hadn't just transformed on the outside. Something inside me had shifted too. The tension that had gripped my chest in those first moments had eased, replaced by a strange sense of calm. I felt more me than I ever had before, even if that meant stepping outside my comfort zone in ways I never imagined. But this journey hadn't just affected me. It had changed the way others saw me too, especially Emma. She didn't see a guy playing dress up. She saw someone real. Someone worthy of attention, affection, and even admiration. That made me question everything I thought I knew about myself. It wasn't just about the clothes or the makeup. It was about the way I carried myself, the way I could be seen in a light I never allowed before. As I reflected on the whole experience, I realized I'd learned a powerful lesson. It's not about fitting into a specific box. It's about owning every piece of who you are, no matter how unconventional it may seem. The vulnerability, the self-doubt, it had all been part of the process. And in embracing those moments, I'd uncovered a deeper understanding of myself. Would things return to normal? Maybe. Or maybe this was the start of something else entirely. One thing was certain. I was no longer the person I had been when this journey started. And whatever the future held, I was ready to face it, whole, unfiltered, and free. Thank you for joining us on another captivating journey through Zoe's stories. Remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a tale. Until next time, keep exploring, keep imagining, and keep believing in the magic of storytelling. See you in the next chapter.